Fruits.
Nice.
Every time I drink Coke Zero. Ugh.
All right. Balrogs and Blastbeats for another week in the Nerdiest podcast that ever there was. The course of the uncool. Just a reason for three nerds to get together and talk weird topics within the realm of nerd and science and popular culture, whatever we feel like. I am one of your nerds. Metal. We talk about
Tiny
metal
horns.
as well. Tiny horns.
Tiny horns.
I am one of your nerds with some tiny horns. My name's Joshua Redbeard.
I am one of your nerds with itch. I'm so itchy. I'm Margy.
And my name's Grant. How are you? As always, going to take you into the nerdiest thing. This weekend, I actually went and saw John Wick 4, and it was very, very good. There were some parts that dragged a little bit. It was very long, to be honest. I don't know how long the other ones are from memory, but this was.
Did any dogs die?
No, but they threatened it a couple of times, so it was kind of sad. I don't mean like John Wick sat there with a gun to the dog, but like the scene's tension would make it imply that a dog was going to die, and it did not. I think they learned from the first one that you get one dead dog. That's it. That's your allowance. You get one dead dog for plot.
I don't think fans would forgive a second dead dog, to be honest. No.
But yeah, some of the scenes, fantastic. Just I don't know how they still come up with new like ways to film and
beat people up.
Make situations, just beat people up and do like because the moves are still the same. Like the shooting is like jumping people, getting them in arm bars, and then shooting them like that. All it's the same as every other movie, but somehow the scenes that they make behind it are just insane. Like I
really like the library scene.
Yeah,
what movie is that? Which it's in one of the Wicks, but it's fucking great. Oh, yeah, so good.
I think it's the second one. But in this one, they got like a 10-minute sequence where they're going through this like old like mansion in France that's been abandoned. But the whole scene's from like it's like isometrics, like top down, him like going room to room, and he's got a shotgun that's got like it's called Dragon's Breath. So essentially, it's a shotgun shell that when it shoots out, I think it's got phosphorus in it, and then it ignites. It sets people on fire as well. So not only you get shot by a shotgun, but you get set on fire as well. It's got something in it. I don't know what the actual. I think it's
sodium.
I don't know. It'd be probably a few things, but yeah, basically, like the friction of it being fired just like makes it shoot sparks and set you on fire, and it's like proper. And basically, brutal. It's just a whole scene of him like shooting through walls, and like the house is like impossibly large.
When you were saying isotopic, I was imagining like the Wes Anderson style thing that he always does of like the side view and like a Wes Anderson shot of John Wick.
Fuck! Imagine Wes Anderson directing John Wick 5. That'd be a wild goddamn ride.
I don't reckon we're getting a John Wick 5.
You don't think so? Does he die in the end?
Spoiler alert! Don't say that.
Well, no, but he. Well, you don't know.
He loses both his arms.
It's open.
He probably dies in the end.
But he said he doesn't want to do a fifth one because they were supposed to shoot the fourth one or the fifth one at the same time. Because it's actually been 4 years since John Wick 3 came out, which I didn't realize. I thought it was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, the number after it is how many years it's been since the movie before.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know. They just decided that probably a good time was to just go, well, we've done enough and we're going to get out while we're up instead of like going a movie too far and dragging it on.
But they've split off now. So they've announced that they're doing a film based on the ballerina, I think next year. And apparently they're going to do a one about Winston, like the start of the Continental Hotel.
I mean, there's some pretty rich characters in the show, and there's like I reckon it's the movie, not the show, but yeah, I think it'd go well. Yeah, or if it was a TV show, I think
John Wick Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, I'm about it.
Fuck.
I mean, everyone seems to be getting well over the Marvel and DC universes.
Yeah, so that's it.
I'm happy for our new John Wick DC Gunfu overlords.
Honestly, same. Yeah, that's sick. I'm into that. Star Wars and John Wick dominate.
Yes, I'll be about that. What's your nerdiest thing this week, Margy?
Well, I even though I am flat broke, I bought myself a new outfit to wear for playing live because I like to wear ridiculous things and play live. And I'm a different person on stage than I am in person. Like, I was in group psych the other week, which I have now graduated. Anyway, and they wanted me to say an acronym for RODBT. They like everything's an acronym. You can't just be like, I don't know, don't be sad. Like, it's got to be something stupid. This one was rocks on, and my psych wanted to be like flexible mind rocks on in front of like a group of strangers. I know it's over Zoom, but still. And I couldn't. I was just like incapable of it. But if I was on stage and someone asked me to do that, I'm like, yeah, why not? Anyway, so long story short is Black Milk, which is like a clothing company that does like leggings and other shit. I don't know. They started doing heaps of collabs. They did an Avatar: The Last Airbender one, and then they announced a limited edition Sailor Moon collaboration. And I only had a few days in which I could order this, which is a long sleeve onesie that's like a bodysuit. And you know, like in the transformation sequence, it like she gets like the thing in the center of her chest and all the ribbons burst out from it and wrap around her. It has that printed on it. So it's
cool.
a long sleeve, like, so I'm going to feel like a Sailor Scout transforming when I'm on stage. So I will have unlimited power. I am so excited. And if Black Milk want to sponsor me to wear more cool Sailor Moon shit, I won't say no. And that's probably why I'm itchy. No, I'm itchy. I don't know why I'm itchy. I just am having, I'm being your stereotypical nerd. Oh no, I've had too much Ritalin. Nah. And anyway, so I'm bringing some Sailor Moon stees, and the rest of the band wear band shirts and pants. So I really
stand out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, pretty much. But I already do. Like, we just recorded 3 new tracks on the weekend, and they're the heaviest things we've recorded in like 8 or 9 years. And we're getting a collaboration with a vocalist, and I can't say who it is yet, but let's just say he comes from somewhere in Asia, East Asia. That narrows it down. And he is a vocalist from a very good band and just started a new project. And I can only say that, but we're doing a collab with him on one of the songs, and I'm so excited. So
I've already figured out who it is.
Send me a message later and we'll or we could just bleep it. Will you remember to bleep this later if I say it?
Absolutely not.
Hot diggity damn. All right, Josh. Well, I'll just message you and while you talk about your nerdiest thing. If it's not a Sailor Moon bodysuit, I'm going to be really disappointed.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's definitely not. So I'm sorry to disappoint you in advance, Margy. But I have spent the last like 72 hours just dissociating from life and ignoring all my responsibilities and like literally trying to work and being like mentally incapable of it. Anytime I put pen to paper, hasn't fucking happened. So instead, I built 6 new Magic the Gathering commander decks because I clearly don't have enough commander decks. So to quickly run you through them, I made Duretti, Scrap Savant. The whole purpose of that is to like cast artifacts and then destroy artifacts. I created Miracle, Lord of Bones. He's basically invulnerable if your life's less than half of your starting life. And whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that card, except that it's an enchantment in addition to its other type. So it's just Enchantress Tribal for creatures. That'll be fun.
That's very fun.
This one's probably my favorite. So Elvira, Halcyon Witness.
Is that white? That sounds white.
It's a white weenie. White. It's a white weenie deck, and it's a lifelink 4/4, but you can pay 4 mana to exchange your life total with Elvira Halcyon's power. So my whole idea is just like get her out as quickly as possible. Maybe I'm down to 30 life, pay 4. My life goes down to 4, but her power goes up to 30. Smash, and then we're both at 30, and just see how quickly I can get to like 500 or 600 life. Everything in here is just literally just lifelink. There is no way to win in this. It's just lifelink, and that's gonna.
I was gonna say, I feel like I've versed that deck before. Like that's not a new one, or did you just do some work on it?
You may have played someone else. I literally just found out about this card the other day, so it's
okay. Yeah, maybe I played someone else with it.
You could slowly beat the other person. Just slowly wear them down.
Yeah, it'd literally be that my life total is just so ridiculously high that as I'm just hitting people, it's just like, they just get annoyed. I got Gisser and Gralf, which is just a fun zombie deck because I don't have enough zombie decks. I realized I don't have a mono blue deck, so I built Leah, Disciple of the Drowned. It's basically spells can't be counted. Each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard has flashback. The flashback cost is equal to that card's mana cost. So it's literally just a spell slinger's deck. It doesn't actually have that many creatures just because it's like literally spell slingers. And the last one's Jasmine, Boreal of the Seven, which basically is just creatures you control with no abilities can't be blocked by creatures with abilities. Because these days, no one really plays creatures without abilities.
Yeah,
that's true.
And so it turns out I don't have a lot of cards that don't have abilities though. So it's literally just become token tribal. So everything's a token maker.
Green army.
It's green and white. So it's yeah. So it's like
Colossal
you like
Dreadmore. Come on, how many?
Yeah, Colossal. Yeah, it's like Colossal Dreadmore, and like that's about it. Because she also has like a tap ability, like a tap to add 2 mana, but to spend it only on creatures that have no abilities.
Yeah.
And so it's like there's a couple in there, but it just like there wasn't enough, and so it's like there's a whole bunch of things that'll then make tokens, and then all the tokens are unblockable.
Yeah, I reckon you'd find a lot.
This is why I can't design my own Magic decks because I don't have the attention span because I start going, oh, okay, that's a cool card. All right, what's something that links up with that? And then I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then what's something that links up with that? And then I just go down a rabbit hole of things that I think are cool, not things that are particularly like that. There's like a bit of overlap, but not really.
So yes, so on top of making those 6 decks, I also optimized another 6 decks that I won't bring out and tell you about now because like Grant's probably played against most of them before.
Do it.
But a whole bunch of because
no one else has.
They're back in the room. Yeah, I kind of just went through like, because obviously like you build a commander deck like a couple of years ago and then like you get new cards over time. And so it's like, yeah, so I went back through a couple of ones that needed to be optimized. Mainly that Brutaclad deck because it's like, it's starting to just not work anymore.
Yeah, you as slowly you add things and you add things and you add things and all of a sudden it's rooted. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I've been just like, yeah. And like that deck has, I think, 37 lands in it. And I still get mana screwed all the time for some reason. So
it's full of rocks too, isn't it?
Yeah. It's got everything.
I know it's wrong.
Maybe
it's a bad shuffler.
But yes, so I have been majorly disassociating and just distracting myself from my responsibility with shiny pieces of cardboard because I'm an adult.
Honestly, I think that's fantastic, and more people should do that. Yeah. That's
I appreciate this.
I just had a really good episode idea and have to write it down.
Shirking responsibility. Professional.
I'm not prioritizing my work in the right way. Instead of doing actual vocal podcasting, I'm writing stuff down.
No, Grant's suggesting that was the episode title. So Grant said you've created a new episode we're going to do just all about shirking responsibility.
I'll write that down while I'm in the document.
Yeah, apparently so.
Yeah, no,
we definitely do. To move the podcast forward, though, we do have to move into the medium beat for this week. And Margy, you're going to lead us into some metal news of the week, some musical news, maybe a little bit slightly closer to home than general.
Yeah, I just think this is a very cool story, which I've been watching. And because I'm flat broke and bought a Sailor Moon bodysuit, I can't help with, so I feel bad. But more or less, there is an iconic venue in Melbourne called The Tote. How does one describe the Tote Hotel? Imagine the grossest venue you've ever been to.
I was going to say dingy,
but... I was on the phone to my parents the other day, and once when they were in Melbourne, they came to see me play at the Tote, and they went, "Oh, I remember the toilets there." So, yeah. So, like, ads in the past couple of years, the Tote's not been managed super well, but it is up for sale, which is fucking tragic. Because obviously it's in like one of the neighborhoods that has all the live music venues, but is also getting super gentrified. Anytime there's a spare building, it gets bought by developers and apartments get put on it. Like 100% guaranteed. That is just what happens with any spare building in that neighborhood. So people who own the Last Chance Rock and Roll Bar, which is another dive bar that you only end up in when it's 7 a.m. and you have many regrets.
It's the only place
Or
that's open. That's the only way you end up there.
yeah, exactly. Or you play a gig there, or you see a mate's band there, and like they've got a good band room, and it always sounds great there and stuff. But they are putting in a bid to buy the Tote Hotel, which is fucking cool. That like someone in the music industry is like, no, we're not going to do it. And to do that, they've started a Possible campaign, like one of those crowdfunding campaigns. And so they've had a whole bunch of tattoo artists pitch in to like do different shirt designs and stuff. And the asking price for the building is $6 to $6.6 million. So the owners of this bar have hustled as much money as they can, and they're aiming to get $3 million together from crowdfunding. And it's won, like it's hit like all these Possible records. Like they've just had so many people contribute, and they've made so much money. And the idea is like they don't get the money unless they like get the
yeah,
unless they hit the goal, like, you know, they're not taking people's money. And as of today, they've raised $975K out of 3 million, which is fucking huge from crowdfunding.
Yeah, fair way
and
there,
like it's a fair way there, and it's really like people coming together. And they're also going to put in place stuff about like putting up some things and legislation-y things, documents, official things that mean that the tote can never be turned into apartments, to like protect it and make it a heritage listed building.
Yeah, they're putting into the Heritage Trust, and so it'll literally be physically impossible for it ever to be taken out of the trust. It's what they were trying to do to the Metro, or at the end it was the Palace, which was a venue that I went to as a kid.
I remember.
Fucking amazing one. But they didn't manage to get it into that trust, and so it got bought up and turned into a hotel and has been smashed to pieces and is fucking depressing. But
it's a Novotel now.
But like
that,
also, I would not want to live in an apartment building built on the side of the tote, because the amount of fucked up stuff that's there, and there are some smells you will never get out. But they are going to like redo the tote if they win this bid. And honestly, I think that might be an incentive in itself to just see the tote bathrooms, not the tote bathrooms. They have like all these
part
like
of the charm though.
It is, but they have like different tiers, and you can even get like your photo on the ceiling of the tote plus a lifetime membership, which is fucking hilarious. Dude. Getting your photo on the ceiling of the tote, which would be amazing. And that it's just really nice seeing like the community come together, and like all these fundraiser gigs are happening. And I just think it's really cool. Like I love it when a community comes together, and and the tote has had some iconic gigs there over the years. I've seen some amazing bands there over the years. Like it's just, you know, important to protect venues, especially as well. I think, you know.
All right, then what would you say is what would you say is the best gig you've been to there?
Screaming Females were really good. Mostly because we played with them, and that was awesome. And I was like, and I got a photo with Marissa, and I was like, this is the best day of my life. And Gold Class might have been one of the best ones, which were a Melbourne post-punk band from a few years ago. And that stands out in my mind as an amazing gig. What about you guys? What have you seen at the Tote? What's your Tote experiences?
I reckon I've been there once. I think I played a show there a few years ago, and I played half the set in the wrong tuning because they didn't have foldbacks that were working. So if once they redo the place, if they get foldbacks, that'd be pretty good.
Can confirm they currently have foldbacks. Jesus, that's bleak. What about you, Josh?
I saw a band that became, in my opinion, one of the most underrated Australian bands, and the bassist has become a dear friend of mine. It's a band called Ylva, YLVA. Who are incredible. But I hadn't heard of them before I went to this gig. I think Pagan were headlining. And so I went to see Pagan, and they were being supported by Ylva. And I just I remember I was trying to describe it to someone afterwards, and I think I described it. It was something like if you had children and then locked them in a basement and only ever gave them access to like Neurosis and ISIS and Russian circles, and that was it. And then one day you went out and they broke out of their cages and they found Jane Doe's Converge. Converge is Jane Doe? That one around? I think
Jane
that's
Doe's
pretty much what
Converge,
they
same
sound
thing.
like. Converge is
Fuck
Jane Doe.
yeah. Yeah,
I think that's
Silver
the music that
amazing.
they would make. Yeah. Yeah, I've had such a fucking amazing time seeing them so many times over the years. But the first time I saw them was like one of those experiences. I always love those experiences when you don't like it's whether you go and see a movie that you've never heard of before, like someone's just like, we're going to see this, where it's the same with a band. It's like, don't listen to them, don't find anything about them, just come and watch this band and they'll be sick. But yeah, it's probably one of the best like live music experiences I've ever had in terms of like discovering a new act live.
Yeah. I've discovered
So
some
I reckon-
rip snorters at the Tote.
Yeah.
And there was even a local Melbourne band that had a song "Crying in the Tote" about crying in the Tote bathrooms, which I think a lot of people have experienced as well. So it's iconic. Hopefully, wait, when's this episode coming out?
It's what, next week?
Next
So
week.
8 days from when we're recording that one. Go Brain.
We are organized nerds. Well, if it's still going, you should check it out, and if it's not, you should check it out.
You will know the outcome.
Yeah, or chain yourself
I'm pretty
to
sure
the front of the building.
Sure it's going to the end of the month. I'm pretty sure it's going to the end of the month. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
but
that's what I read on the thing. So if you're rich, either give me money or actually probably give the Tote money, and then you can give me money.
If you're rich, you've got space for both.
Exactly, I need a benefactor, but have seen countless amazing local and international acts there over the years, and have played many a gig there, and it's been, it's definitely iconic. And if you have any stories about musicians saving shit, let me know. Like,
I also just realized my other favorite thing about the Tote is the fact that like on the side of the building, they paint like what's coming up for the weekend. They'll paint the names onto the wall. And there was like, for a while, there was a band that kept on playing there, literally called Cunts. And so you would drive down like Johnson Street or Wellington Street, and literally painted on the side of this building was Saturday, the 18th of June, Cunts. That was the best.
Cunts. Oh man, that paint, the layers of paint there to do a cross section of it, because they paint the wall black and then they write with white paint over the top of it who's playing that week. Then they paint the wall black and do it again. So like, it's so thick, and good God, the history in those paint strokes. It's
chip it out.
Yeah. The vomit and piss that's in between each layer. That's an art installation right there. Fucking A. But we love dive bars.
We do.
Yes. Put it next to the poop machine. Shout out to the Last Chance guys. Shout out to the music community for doing shit. Shout out to Melbourne for trying to be Melbourne in the age of in late stage capitalism. We're doing what we can.
We are. But speaking of late stage capitalism, I think that's a fucking great segue into the main beat for this week. We love a segue. We really, really do. But you might have noticed this episode is called I'm Gonna Live Forever, which is obviously a reference to Fame, because I'm a massive musical nerd at heart. But also, we're looking at the concept this week of living forever in the digital space, with the concept of mind uploading, as it's called, how it's sort of how we've seen it in sci-fi over the years, kind of where the technology's at. But I figured, Margy, have you got a description for mind uploading? Because you do love your descriptions and you love to introduce us to things. Do you have a definition for this?
No. All I wrote was, are we going to lose everything when the sharks eat all the internet cables? But like, I mean, I think let's each define it, where the concept of uploading yourself to the digital space, to me, and from my understanding of it, is that it's a way where you could continue your existence post-death, where your brain, your personality, you can live on Sun's body in the digital space, on the interwebs, as it were. That's kind of how I see it.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, it's like it's not wrong at all. Like that's definitely one way of putting it.
What about you?
The term that comes up a lot is whole brain emulation, which is basically it's like recreating your mind in the digital space, like down to the connecting synapses and all like, you know, the everything that's under the gray matter, everything that keeps the gray matter together.
I've actually done a big deep dive into this because I love a bit of neuroscience. And I found a really good article. I found a really good article about it, which started with a question from a reader. And it just goes, I am 59 years old and in reasonably good health. Is it possible I will live long enough to put my brain into a computer? Which is quality content. Put your brain in a computer and right the now. Article's really
it won't work.
The article's exactly. So I kind of want to give people an idea of where computer science is at and where neuroscience is at in terms of being able to put your brain into the digital ether, as it were. So long story short, the brain is fucking wild. Like how memories work, how we think, like personalities, all of that, it's still all being figured out. We kind of get it, but we also really don't. And we still don't even know how much information a brain can even hold, which is ridiculous because it's not like that movie where like Unlimited, where he takes a pill and he's, you know, like you only use 10% of your brain. That's because like 90% of your brain is storing memories and it's like, you know, making your heart beat and shit. So only 2 years ago, a team at Allen Institute for Brain Science in the US mapped a 3D structure of all of the neurons in 1 cubic millimeter of the brain of a mouse. So it's like a grain of sand. And so within this 1 cubic millimeter of mouse brain tissue, the researchers counted more than 100,000 neurons and more than 1 billion connections between them. Mapping it required 2 million gigabytes of storage, and their microscopes had to collect 100 million images of 25,000 slices of the sample that they took. That is 1 cubic millimeter. That is how complex brains are. So if you want to collect that for the human brain, that's a shit ton more. And brains are also more than just the cells that make the brain up, because there's neurochemistry. That's how synapses work, right? There's electricity and all of that. And then there's also the gray matter. But the human brain is made up of 100 billion neurons, which is as many stars as there are in the Milky Way, which is 100 million times those contained in that cubic millimeter of mouse brain. And the estimated number of connections in a human brain is 10 to the power of 15, which is 10 followed by 15 zeros, which is 10 million billion connections. If you took a 2-meter deep layer of sand down a kilometer of beach, that's how many grains of sand it's comparable to. And then beyond data extraction, and this is going slice by slice, which isn't actually very doable for a human brain, because imagine how many times you'd have to slice up a human brain and how many cells you'd have to analyze and map to get your brain, which makes you who you are, into a computer. So data extraction and storage is just one aspect. A cubic millimeter of mouse brain was 2 million gigabytes of storage. And then you need to also mimic the brain's mode of operation, which is accessing any and all information in a rapid amount of time. So everything would need to be RAM, not in a hard drive, because it needs to be instantly accessible at any point. So if they put all of that into a computer's RAM, it would occupy 12.5 times the capacity of the largest single memory computer ever built. That's fucking big. And because we don't know how much a human brain can hold, we don't know how big it needs to be. And then this complicates transferring to something digital. And then you also have to come up with a code that could code for the data of the human brain. And that's a lot of error. And a human brain would be 31.5 billion of these mouse samples that they took. And if we uploaded it to computers, we still need to understand electrical signals, chemical signaling, and what's released and in what context. So neurotransmitters, neuromediators, cellular biology. Yeah, it's like, and there's so much genetics and stuff like, and there's genetics, and like genetics changes everything in between each person. So even if you figured out 3D structure, you'd still have to figure out neurons, intraneural dynamic processes, electrical and chemical signaling. And then if you wanted it to interact with the world around you after you uploaded it, you'd have to integrate the signals and input from the world around us to internal representations. So there would need to be a sensory input into whatever you are and a way of interacting and responding to that. So, but it can't just like eyes aren't just video cameras. Eyes are rods and cones that do different things. So that's different processing to an eye. Yeah, there's a fucking lot. So that's a few things to consider in terms of your brain. Oh fuck. Don't tell me.
I think
I've
we lost
glitched
you again. Oh no, you're back. You're back.
No, looks like you're back.
I'm back.
You made it. You made it.
Yes. Okay.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah. So okay. So long
Margy,
story short,
what we're hearing from all that though is it looks like we'll be ready to do this like next week. Yeah, looks like that's from what we're saying. It's like everything you're saying right now. Like that's pretty much we've got that under control.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, yeah, you can easily figure out what a neuron's doing just by looking at it. There's nothing chemical or cellular going on at all. So yeah. Also, one thing, this is based off slicing up the brain. And to do that, it would have to happen before someone died to get all of this analysis done. Because when you die, there's heaps of changes to your brain chemistry. So you would have to like willingly just take a brain and cut it, and I don't know, like, or we'd have to come up with a way of doing all of this without
you'd have to figure out
cutting
some way
up the
of doing,
brain
like,
and analyzing it,
like a mega
and
X-ray or something like that.
Like you can use functional MRIs, which map blood flow, magnetoencephalography, which maps the electric currents of the brain. But and then you'd also need, like, I think some people have been using scanning electron microscopes, but I don't know how that works into a head. But like, it's really complicated. And then there's some people are proposing that to get how the brain works, they put a semiconductor chip in the corpus callosum, which is at that split between the hemispheres, and then get the brain to grow around it to map it. Honestly, fuck me, it's too much. I majored in chemistry, not brains, like, and computer shit. But like, it's really, really. And then also, if you got your brain analyzed when you were alive and they fully mapped everything that makes you you, and then you continued living, you would have two life paths. You would have your digital consciousness, and then you would have your real consciousness, and then you get into that situation.
Yeah, because that'd be the whole thing about like
poses a problem.
Like when people say they've got like clones and stuff like that, like as soon as a clone exists, it's no longer really you, because as soon as it opens its eyes, it's looking at you, it's having a different experience to you. And so straight away, it's the same kind of thing with this. It's like the second that becomes conscious, then it's a completely different thing. It's a completely different experience. It's not really your brain anymore. You've kind of created a new bit of life almost.
But like, would it not even be like similar to say like the theory of teleporting, like where you're actually destroying whatever it was and then trying to recreate it? Like, it's actually not you anymore. It's something different.
Well, yeah,
no,
that's
teleportation uses wormholes. Duh.
But no, that's like, because apparently there's two ways of doing it. It's like, yeah, like people say there's copy and paste, and there's copy and delete. So it's like, yeah, it's like you're saying, it's like they'd kind of take
there's
parts
cut and paste or copy and paste.
Yeah, cut and paste. Yeah, that's exactly it. Cut and paste or copy and paste. So yeah, great. You're kind of right. It's like, yeah, that way it's kind of like they take a bit of your brain, pretty much out, scan it, move on to the next part, and you just slowly die throughout the experience of them just kind of like,
yeah, but like even like just the idea of transferring whatever's in here to data in a different media would mean it's not the same thing. Like, it's a recreation of you, but it's not you because it's a transfer.
Exactly.
It's not the same. Like, it would actually not be you.
Yeah, it's basically the ship of Theseus. It's saying like, it's like you kind of removing parts and putting it into like, something new. It's like at some point in time, it stops being the ship of Theseus. At some point in time, it stops being you.
Yeah, pretty much. It's my
Yeah,
thoughts
if
anyway.
you get a hip replacement, you're actually no longer you. You cease to be you if you get a hip replacement. No,
I agree.
but
Stupid old people.
Hey, young people get them too. But like
Stupid young people.
That's the thing, because like it asks some really philosophical questions of like, is being you how you interact and perceive and feel things in your environment? Like, is it your whole nervous system? Is it your sense of touch? Is it like you have a slightly wonky leg? Is it certain noises your ears pick up as being too loud or too quiet? Are there certain things you're sensitive to? Are there certain lights and colors you're sensitive to? How much of that is physical and physiological, and how much of that is all in your head? And like what, it's just like, it's a really, okay, it's like a Greek philosophy question, you know, like, are you your entire self or just your brain? Like,
but yeah,
you
I
know,
mean, it also kind of comes down to the point that like
but
they still don't know where the consciousness is. Like, where, like, is the consciousness actually in our brain? Is it somewhere else in our body? Like, if they don't know that part of it. So it's like, yeah, if they take the brain out, yeah, they can map the brain, but like, is that where the consciousness is? Like, would this thing just be like another computer rather than a consciousness of an individual, so to speak?
Would you still be the same person if your knees weren't sore all the time? Probably
No,
not.
I would be a much happier
I reckon
person if my knees weren't
I
sore all
reckon
the
if
time.
my back wasn't sore, I'd be happier. Yes, I'd be a lot happier if I had no pain. Fuck me.
And then you got to ask the question: would people
so-
like us if we were happier? Maybe not. So we'd have a different experience. All right. So I think personally, some pretty cool like pop culture references for uploading your consciousness into whatever it may be, robots, blue aliens with phallus tails.
Holy
and
shit!
many
I
other
didn't even
things.
I didn't even think of that.
Yes, that's exactly what that is. But we'll start with a well-known ditty called "Ghost in the Shell." You know, Major is definitely just almost like a home brand consciousness in a way, just uploaded into a home brand body.
Is home brand consciousness AI?
Yeah, I think that's the thing, because I'm pretty sure Major's memories are technically taken from real sources.
No,
And
so
then
it's the
I can't
other way
remember.
around. The
Oh,
other
is
way
it?
around.
Yeah.
So technically, we are actually closer to what happens in the Ghost in the Shell than we are to technology to upload your brain. So Major's body was destroyed, and they managed to save her
That was
brain
it. Yeah.
and put it into.
So it's RoboCop.
Yeah, so it's like kind of like RoboCop, but just for the brain. But yeah, that technology feels, in terms of like living forever, as long as you could keep the gray matter alive, that technology in Ghost in the Shell is probably a lot closer.
General Grievous. No, that's just cyborg shit.
Yeah, he's still got all them painfully useless
Meaty bits.
organs. All
Yeah.
them. If he didn't have them, he wouldn't have, gone all combustible when he got shot for some reason. Like no other single creature.
Because he was obviously breathing pure oxygen and just had oxygen tanks.
We should have been high. Shouldn't have been
anyway.
high.
But Ghost of the Shell, obviously, even if you're AI or you've uploaded your brain, is a great representation of how you still need boobs.
Yeah, 100%.
Just not nipples.
But I think like
she does have nipples, doesn't she? In the anime,
not that you see. Maybe in the anime you do. It's been so long since I've seen.
They're pretty like pronounced from memory.
Google it.
The boobies are definitely there in the anime. I can't remember the name. It's been a long time since I watched the anime. I did watch the live action recently, but the anime I haven't watched in ages.
Yeah, I haven't watched it in ages. It's a good one though.
Yeah, but I think in terms of this whole discussion though, I think the important thing that Ghost in the Shell does bring up, which kind of would be terrifying in terms of uploading your brain to the internet, is the idea of like someone hacking your brain in different ways. Is like someone, because if all your information's on the internet now, people can steal your information quite easily. And so imagine if someone could like steal your whole brain or make a copy of your brain, like create like an evil version of you, or like steal just like your happiest memory and then blackmail you with it. Like the idea, like the things that you could do in terms of like hacking that are brought up in Ghost in the Shell are actually terrifying, to be honest.
Yeah. That's
For anyone that's watching this podcast, they could just see me smirking, plodding away, looking at animated nipples. there's definitely there's a lot of nipple in
She-
Ghost in the Shell.
she has nipples.
It's the remake, like it's definitely like the live action where it's like, they don't need that.
Yeah, I'm glad they found the barrier there. But like, I think in Altered Carbon there's which is like, I really liked the show. Like, I really enjoyed it. And they have viruses in there, but they don't really understand them because it's alien technology, and that's a really nice way of circumventing the whole. How did they upload the consciousness? Aliens. But like but because it's like some kind of bio based but not thing, that's how they can get viruses. But the concept for that is it's like 360 years in the future. I know that you haven't seen it, Grant. Have you seen it, Josh?
No.
Yeah, so it's 360 years in the future, and a person's memories and consciousness can be stored on a disc kind of device called a cortical stack. So it goes in like the cortex of your brain, kind of at the top of your vertebrae. And you transfer you can transfer your consciousness to, like, you could upload it, and you could transfer it to another human body, like by putting your cortical stack or by uploading your cortical stack information into their body. Or you can make clones, which they call or a synthetic body, and they call them like sleeves. It's really weird, but like and like sometimes
the grossest
sometimes,
word you could use for that. Like, of all the words you could
I
use.
feel like it was on purpose.
Sometimes, like, if a person gets like sentenced to death, or like if they die or something, they just like kill the brain, like, and then they like keep the body, and then they just use the body, or they take the person out of the body. Like, if you're like in prison, they take you out of your body and then they'll like put someone into your body. It's fucking weird. And like and you can have your stack back up to the cloud, kind of. I don't know, like, I think you have to plug in, I can't remember. But like, you can upload your consciousness and have like refreshes, so it's like save points in a video game. Like, better stop here and upload all my memories. But like, and the really rich people use clones of themselves that they change their bodies through, so like they never age, and they have like remote storage of their consciousness through satellites, so it's like harder to access their brains and hack them and stuff. And the plot is this dude who's a former like rebel soldier. You get into that. He's taken out of prison 250 years after he was arrested, and he has to solve the murder of the person who got him out of prison. So this really rich dude got murdered, but it happened in between backups, so he doesn't have any memory of it. So he has to figure out who murdered that person. Yeah, anyway, and it's really, and then season 2, they just put him into a different body and just continue on their way. It's really funny. So like, different plot, but it's season 2 is still really good. But like, it's this really weird concept of like, or like they could either build slaves, or they could clone them, or they could just get human bodies, and using this information, which is conveniently not explained. But I really like that idea of like the biotech sort of thing of having like something in your brain. Like, like, I think that's like that made it kind of believable. But it is really cool. And it does really show like, okay, rich people will do really well on this because it's got to be technology based, and they'll have the money for the technology. And then there's that Black Mirror episode.
Yeah, that's on my list. Yeah. Or did I skip it because I thought, no, maybe I skipped that one. I was like, we'll talk about it later. But I did actually have there's 1962, I think, the first movie where this was like a kind of a plot point. It's called The Creation of the Humanoids. It's set in the future after a nuclear war, where blue-skinned androids known as humanoids are trying to infiltrate human society by creating android replicas of humans that have recently died. So they will go and basically try to transplant the memories of the brain into a android copied of that person. Called replicas. So it's kind of like Terminator, but not. I don't know.
Was this like a beam? I've never heard of this thing before, but it seems like it would be like a big.
It sounds like you'd love it. It could be a B
sounds
movie.
Awesome.
But it's from the 60s. They're all B movies.
Yeah, true.
But they're good. They're good fun.
Marky, you totally reminded me of another one though. A terrible, like one of those films that's like great premise, terrible execution. Have you seen that film Gamer?
No.
Grant, have you seen the one with Gerard Butler?
Yes, I have. Yes.
It is so terrible, but it has like this sort of like this Elon Musk character that's played by the dude that played Dexter. Was it Michael C. Hall? Michael C. Hall? I
Yes,
think it's his name.
is it. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
Dexter.
Yeah, so he plays this sort of like, you know, Elon Musk type character. And basically in the future, there's like these two main sort of like virtual reality sort of thing, but it's virtual reality played by people at home with headsets on, but using like real life bodies, like within these particular zones. And so it starts off with like a fun kind of like friendly thing, like the Sims meets Facebook sort of thing. And so like, you know, if you were like a person like me, you could fucking put yourself in the body of like, you know, a hot chick and be a stripper or something like that. Like there's
Josh,
like
you are a
examples
hot
of that.
chick.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. But then the other sort of it is this game called Slayers, which is basically like Fortnite or anything like that, but using criminals. And if there's like a person controlling the criminal, and then if the criminal gets like it wins 10 rounds or something like that, like goes through 10 rounds without dying, then they are like freed from jail. And so it's
That
all
sounds
about
like a Black Mirror episode.
it's sort of like a Black Mirror episode, but it's like the idea was great, but the film is bad. Like
the
just
logic
bad.
behind that. Okay, let's get the murder that's the best murderer at murdering other murderers, and let him go.
But that's the thing, is like, because he's not controlling it, it's like the person's, because
Yeah.
that's the kind of thing in it. It's like there's a kid controlling, you know, like Gerard Butler's character throughout it. And then it's like hacks and shit like that. But yeah, it was one of those things, like it sounded really good on paper, and then you watch it, was like, oh, this is a really
It's
shit
schlock.
film. Grant, you'd probably love it. So
No, I have seen it, and I it was not memorable enough to be even that good.
Fair.
I'm
But
trying to
yeah.
remember. There was a show that I started watching on Amazon Prime, but I didn't finish it. But yeah, that's it. The Peripheral. Did you guys see that?
No.
It's like, it's a concept where like they somehow through like a VR headset, like this is like in like the not too distant future, and VR gets really good, and through like a VR headset they transfer this person into a body in the future that's like it's like a robot body, like, but it looks like her, or it looks like whatever, and it's like kind of like she's virtually playing a video game, but she's actually in the future. And yeah, it's like it was getting real confusing with time travel and stuff, and not real bodies and stuff. And it wasn't too bad for the first few episodes. I really liked it, and then I don't know, I lost interest. But yeah, that was like, oh god, if you can upload your consciousness, can you like revisit your current self, or can you go forward or back, or
I mean, you could go forward, but technically, like if you don't have any registry of how long you've been in data form, it would feel like it's like kind of going to sleep for a real long time, and you
yeah,
could,
well,
but you
not
couldn't go
even.
back, surely.
It would be instantaneous, because like
Yeah.
in what's it called, Altered Carbon, they like he just wakes up and he's literally just gone from like being arrested to be put into a body, and he's like, fuck, and like because there is no consciousness without life. That's kind of what that insinuates. And then there is a really funny scene where they put a grandma into like this really big butch, like buff, like man's body, who's like covered in tattoos, and the grandma's like, I'm pissing standing up, and everyone's like, but it's like, but they have like, you know, like Dia de los Muertos takes on a different meaning in the future, because they literally could just bring back dead people for a day. Like you could hire like a body to put your dead person into it. It's like, what the fuck? Like, oh god. But yeah, the Black Mirror episode is San Junipero. That's the one that everyone was popping off for. And it's like, and you can like, it's like people, it's like the deceased or elderly can go to, and it's like a time in their life that they can relive, like from when they were younger. But it's like that one's like a simulated reality. So that's another thing.
Yeah.
That could be like, can you digitally upload yourself and then not have to exist in the physical realm, but just exist digitally? And then what's the point?
Yeah. No, but I think like again though that technology is probably closer again because you could use like it wouldn't enable you to live forever, but to be able to like program a story into your mind is definitely going to be easier than actually like uploading your mind to the digital space.
Well, especially if you want your mind to be able to interact with a physical environment, then you'd have to But like I don't know, they do it in the Matrix, don't they? So you just need like a little plug.
That's it. Yeah. And those weird metallic shrimp.
Yeah.
Blop, 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 blop.
Those
You don't
things
have any
still
metallic
freak
shrimp
me
in your
out
neighborhood?
20 years
Fuck.
later.
Oh man, I was so scared of the first time I saw the Matrix. Holy shit. But then like like what other pop culture ones?
I'd say, Avatar's a huge one where they go,
Yeah.
Yeah. How
just
did I not think
putting
of this?
I didn't think of that either.
wheelchair. What's he's in a wheelchair, isn't he?
Yeah, he's paraplegic, yeah.
Yeah, but
Jake Sully.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So he's paraplegic, and they basically put him into like super powered, giant, 9 foot tall blue man, and expect him to ever
With
want
carbon fiber bones.
expects him to ever like not want to be like the most powerful creature on the planet.
Yeah.
And then in the second movie, he's a white guy with dreadlocks. So say all you want about that. Pretty much sums up the premise of the movie.
I actually had forgot that they made a second one.
It's actually good, and I really quite liked it. But I don't. Problematic, probably. Okay, someone can't whatever. But but that's like because they do like a brain scan, and then there's something about the genetics as well. So like they base the avatar's body off the genes of the person. That's why he can do it, because he had an identical twin who died. And identical twins would have, but
similar DNA.
But his brain is still existent. It's just transmitting in a way,
it's
I
not
guess.
quite the same. It's
So
like,
then he does transfer it through a tree. So
alien technology.
Alien technology. That's pretty much the way forward. It was funny. It was a point that I meant to bring up earlier that you just reminded me of, Margy. That was like with the whole like brain scan thing. I was watching this video all about like the kind of brain scan that would be needed to do it. And apparently if we were to use MRI, the magnetic field needed to cut down to the level of synapses that we need to see everything, apparently it would just melt the human flesh. Apparently the that strong. And so it's I remember reading that. I was just kind of like, that's good to know. And so the scanning technology needs to be increased up to the level of fucking
if you think
Avatar.
about, like, if you've ever had an MRI, like, you can't have anything metal in the room and stuff because the electromagnet's really fucking strong, and that gives you the grainiest fucking image. Like, it's not like MRIs are super good, like they're not great. Like, and that's why functional MRIs are better, because you can actually like map things and be a bit more specific. But like, having worked around really strong electromagnets, it's like when your lanyard just starts like floating up off your neck, and you're like, someone turned. Oh, yep. Forgot about the 900 megahertz thing over there. And there is one example from literature which I always think of as kind of this, but not. And it's Ubik by Philip K. Dick. Really good book. And if you don't want any spoilers, skip ahead a few minutes. It actually relies on kind of psychic powers and people who can block psychic powers. And long story short, people die in a crash, but then the book takes place. Like that. So it's all in a time of suspended animation after death and keeping a half-life alive following death. Somehow psychic powers are involved, and somehow like this thing called Ubik's involved. But like pretty much everyone's kept in suspended animation so they could keep accessing their brains to find out some piece of information that they needed from them, and then they kill them. But they were already kind of dead, but they were like not dead. It was kind of like zombies, but you know.
Right.
But I think also one of the important concepts to consider is, if you can't die, what's
the point?
Like, what's the point?
I mean, what's the point now, except for trying?
There's no fucking point.
That's literally it.
I've never understood that. Like, people use that argument a lot, and I've never really understood. It's like, I would love the idea of living forever,
Non-existence.
like living forever specifically because it's like I could do more things. Like there is more things that I could do. I could be done with all these things, and then I go into the next thing, and then I
Yeah.
go into the next thing, and then I go into the next thing. Like half the reason why I don't do a lot of things is because I'm like, it's going to take me like 10 years of commitment or whatever, and I just can't be bothered because that's 10 years of my life wasted. Whereas like, if I'm not wasting life, then I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm going to spend the next 10 years becoming a master of guitar. And then I'm just going to give up guitar. I'm going to become a master of kung fu for the next 10 years. And just every 10
As long
years,
as
I'll
your
just
body
pick a
doesn't
new
age.
thing. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, that's the issue though, isn't it?
I mean, I kind of did that in a way where I did like 8 years of study and postgraduate study in chemistry. And then I was like, having a mental breakdown might just change my whole life, and dropped out and got depressed and joined a band. So like, it's you can still do it. You just got to speed run it,
True.
What
All right,
what do you think of one other movie when you're talking about that Philip, the PKD,
Philip K. Dick one, Ubik. Yeah.
PKD, Ubik. I think isn't there a Jake Gyllenhaal movie where he's like in a machine and he's like trying to solve like a terrorist attack that was on a train that he was on, and then like near the end you find out that he's like dead and they've like moved his consciousness. He's like body dead. I think his brain's like slowly dying.
Yeah.
And they've moved his consciousness into like a computer that he's actually talking to people through, and he's like experiencing this stuff through a dream, and then he somehow gets free.
I have no idea.
Of the simulation. I can't remember what it's called. Is it Eagle Eye? Or Sentinel or something like that.
I can't remember.
I've never heard of this thing. I mean, yeah, I just remember there was a Johnny Depp movie called Transcendence, which is a similar sort of thing where he's trying to study it, and then he just ends up accidentally uploading his brain to the internet. But I never actually saw it. So I understand the premise of it is there, but never actually
How do
saw
you
it.
accidentally upload your brain to the internet?
Oops, I don't know.
Press the wrong button.
Like I said, I could be wrong. I haven't actually seen it. I just know his brain ends up on the internet somehow.
Oh my god, a new section of porn sites that's like real hot brains. That would be another thing. That would be like
Still warm.
That would be like the
source code, that's what it's called.
Source
code. I feel like I've seen that. I don't know. Anyway, but like what about like uploading brains and stuff and then like I don't know, catfishing people through like if you don't have a body, you could be the best catfish ever. Like beats AI, right? Because AI at the moment is mostly like what we call AI is mostly just algorithms, right?
Yeah.
So like, yeah, but like we could be real AI. Not AI, but
if you're all doing it, are you all catfish or is it just are you just actually there for a different reason?
Oh my god. Tinder for the uploaded consciousness. And then how would an uploaded human consciousness interact with an AI consciousness and which one would pass the Turing test?
I'm pretty sure that show's already on Netflix. It's called Love is Blind. It doesn't work.
It's interesting you say that though. I was watching a video just before we started recording that was talking about AI and stuff like that. And this like AI researcher at MIT was saying that like he's like with where we're currently at with AI, not only like the Turing test hasn't like just become obsolete. He's like the Turing test has technically been obsolete for ages because the Turing test originally was like, can you trick human beings? But he's like human beings are pretty easy to trick.
Yeah.
It's like, can you make it think that you're real? And so it's like the new Turing test really should be, can it comprehend? Like, can you make it watch fucking Inception and then explain what happens in Inception? Probably a bad example because I can't explain what the fuck.
Yeah, I was gonna say, probably would do a better job than me.
But it's like, it's like the new. He was arguing that like the new Turing test should be something along those sort of lines. It's like the next
like
level
emotional
of AI.
capacity.
Yeah, it actually has to like comprehend as opposed to just sort of explain. It actually has to like, yeah.
It has to do comprehension tests like we used to do it in like school, like the teacher would read something and be like, why did Johnny catch the fish? And you have to be like, why did Johnny catch the fish? Philosophy 101.
I think that'll be terrifying when AI reaches that level. But yeah, I think
I can't wait till AI starts asking me why Johnny caught the fish. That's when the news go on.
New episode title: Why Johnny caught the fish.
On that question though, I think we'll move into the final part for this particular topic and ask the question to each of the hosts. Grant, we'll start with you. If you were given the option to upload your brain to the internet, would you do it?
I think I already answered this ages ago. I said no.
No. No, we asked would you live forever, but I said this is a slightly different question.
Yeah, but this was the method of which we were going to live forever, and it wouldn't be me. What would be the point? I'd be dead regardless.
Fair. What about if you if it was what if they found out a way to get it to the point where it is literally your consciousness, like you right now upload it into the internet, you can go and do whatever you want.
But what do I do in the internet? Because
hang out.
I don't know if anyone's watching the video.
Say what if I want to go camping? I can't. I'm in the fucking internet, and I know I'm in there as well.
True.
If I didn't know I was in there, if I didn't know I was in the simulation, that guy's Zorap. I'm like, I know this isn't real. I know this is fake ass air.
This is fake ass pine sand. I can tell.
Internet.
It's great, but it's fake ass air. I can tell.
Yeah, this ain't real. I
Margy?
think it depends on if it's your consciousness is only there when you're in the physical form. Like you can be on the internet, but you're not conscious of it. Until you're in a physical form. If that was the case, yes. If it was just if I could just be put into a computer on a wall and people in the future could come along and be like, listen to this fucking millennial say Doge. I would be that would be hell. And that would be a great punishment for criminals. But yeah, I think if my consciousness was only activated when I was in a physical form and then I could go dormant and then I could do a physical form, I would kind of be into that. I'd be like, yeah, that's a vibe.
Imagine even now, the culture shock of say going to another country and what that's actually like once you get in there versus you jumping 400 years and you waking up. How much of your time do you think you'd spend just comprehending what the fuck is going on before you even
yeah, it'd be fucking sick.
Oh, now I'm gonna do what I woke up to do. I reckon your brain would crumble. I don't reckon it would work.
Yeah, which would be awesome. And then some fucking neuroscientist would be like, let's find out why the brain crumbled. And then they'd cut open my brain and this body and then whatever body I was in. And I think it'd be really interesting.
I think in that situation,
yeah.
In that situation, Grant's situation, I think that I would just do the whole Philip J. Fry thing. I'd be like, yeah, this makes sense, and just go on with my life straight away. I think a lot of people I agree with, their brains would probably melt, but I think my brain would be totally fine with it. But we're 1,000 years in the future.
Is what it is. Yeah.
Cool. Next.
And then you have to go sit on one of those knees, the seats where the knees go backwards. What is it the when the Leela gets in the Bloonsball team, and there's the bee people making the pizza.
The best.
Oh,
very specific Futurama reference.
But yeah, I think we've spoken about this before, but I would 100% live forever. If I could upload my brain to the internet and just continue to exist in the internet and fucking, I don't know, hang out in
shitpost
Fortnite and shit and do a lot of shit posting and
I didn't even think of that. I could finally be a gamer.
Yeah, you'd be a gamer. That'd be a legit. You go play fucking Mario Kart for fucking ever to be sick.
I'd finally be good at it. I could stay on the track.
Or do you die when you go off the edge?
It's a great question. No, it just restarts because we've just got save points everywhere.
But then
save
is that
points all over the internet?
Yeah, it's cached data. Is that the thing?
Yeah,
cookies.
Absolutely. Saves
cookies.
Bumps onto the next. Computing power. I love it.
I used a computer term. I'm really proud of myself.
It's not cookies at all, but that's fine. Whatever. On that note,
cookies.
Dear nerds, the both of you, terrible. We're going to move into the final bit for this week. The final bit from this week, I 100% stole from Fight Club because Fight Club was mentioned in the episode of Dungeons and Daddies that I was listening to this week. And so I legit stole it from that. And so the final bit for this week is the question: if you could fight one historical figure, who would you fight? Grant, who are you fighting?
Isaac Newton, because his third law is whoever's ass can be beaten will be beaten. No, but honestly, anyone who's dumb enough...
you seen his face as well?
Yeah, anyone dumb enough to stick a fork behind his eye to see if it affects the color spectrum rather than just pushing on it is a fucking idiot. Deserves to get
You've got real ongoing beef with Isaac Newton, and I respect that.
He made some good points, but fuck, he did some dumb shit too.
I love it. It's the perfect answer.
How about you, Marky?
Okay, so my new approach to the final beats is because I have a real problem with memory. When we're planning the episodes, I have a read, and then I come back to it on the day of the episode, and that's it. I don't do any thinking about it in between when we plan the episode and then whenever we come to recording it. So I have given this no thought. Off the top of my head, I would go for a Roman emperor, maybe Caesar, just because I don't know, he got stabbed, and wouldn't it be funny if like it was no longer jokes about him getting stabbed in the back and no longer et tu Brutus, but et tu Margus. But I reckon I would go back and just like beat the shit out of one of those, like a high power imperial figure who's super inbred, and you could just go back and just wallop him. Like, on that note, on my anti-imperialism tirade I've been going on lately, I guess it would probably be like, you know, like one of the kings or queens of England, whichever correlates with like certain points in history.
They're the ones you got to hit. They're the inbred ones.
If you're going for like inbred Roman emperors as well, like Nero, like have you seen like the statues of Nero? His chin's like back in his throat. Like he is as inbred as they get.
Would I feel bad beating up someone who looks like such a nerd? Nah, I'm a nerd. It's fine.
I mean, also,
I want someone I'd be able to beat up, right? Like I want to fight a historical figure and win.
And if you go for the Romans, you get a massive advantage because they're tiny.
True.
And I am Scottish. And they'd be like, oh no, it's a Pict. Fuck. I thought we killed all the Pictish. And I'd be like, eh. And then I am a tattooed woman, as the Pictish women were. They were tattooed. So the original people of Scotland, before they were killed and the Celts came over, and then the Celts were killed again. Pretty much, fuck you, Rome. Fuck you. You killed my ancestors. Yeah. Fuck you. I'm going back to Rome. Josh, who are you beating up?
I do like how you've taken on my advice from the last time. You're like, oh, I'll go for England. Like, no, go for Rome. They're the one that made London. You're like,
she's learning. Yeah. But does she comprehend why Rome caught the fish?
Well, you know, I think like in a recent episode, I already fought the tetrapod that came out of the ocean, so I won't choose that as my historical figure. But I wouldn't say
it's super famous either. You know, like it's not like it's not like it's Gary the tetrapod. You know,
I didn't say they had to be famous. I just said they had to be a historical figure, because technically the historical figure I'm going to fight is not famous, but it does reference another episode of Balrogs and Blastbeats. Since Grant
this is canon. This is B&B canon.
Since Grant put out the conspiracy theory that the second shooter for JFK was the Secret Service agent when he turned around and accidentally let go of his, like, he fucking fired off his gun and Marvined JFK. I'm going to fight that Secret Service agent like the day of. So then I save JFK by fighting that Secret Service agent. I don't want to care about Lee Harvey Oswald. I'm going to fight that Secret Service agent that
just
morning.
See what happens.
Put him in hospital and then see what happens.
And
that's where I'm going, and that's what I'm doing.
It's not even like to save JFK. It's just I just want to. I'm literally just doing a scientific experiment. I'm changing one of the variables and seeing what the outcome is.
Exactly.
You fucking nerd. I love it.
Maybe the new agent would be like a really bad driver or something like that. Have a car accident and JFK still dies. Who knows? But
or maybe they're a really bad driver and they just plow their way through the street, and instead of like being there for Lee Harvey Oswald to take the shot, they've just run down like 1,000 people and
drives over the grassy knoll, hits someone over there. It's a whole thing.
Like, and then the grassy knoll's a whole different meaning. Oh my god, vehicular manslaughter is now grassy knolling someone.
Exactly. We're going to change the course.
It's going to start being called the grassy knoll.
So, so let's say ongoing. So Grant's gone for ongoing beef with Isaac Newton. I've gone for ongoing beef with imperialism and my Pictish Scottish heritage, and Josh is good for science experiment.
Pretty much. Pretty much. That's exactly
Sums us all up pretty well.
But dear listener, we need to know who are you going to fight out of history. Follow Northside Nerds on Instagram, on TikTok. Every Friday we post a Friday question, and the answers are always very hilarious.
And this is fight, not kill. So you got to think about the outcome here. You take on you take on someone super fucking badass, like you're gonna get the shit kicked out of you unless you're really good at fighting. I'm a dirty fighter. I'm an eye gouger, so you know I'm gonna win. Fuck you, Nero.
Yeah, and this is fighting as you are as well. It's not like you become like a black belt and then go and fight someone. Like
it's right now, it's today. Let's go.
It's it's with the skills that you have. Yeah.
And yes, you can also say like your mum when she was younger.
You can go and do that if you want.
Yeah, like I don't know. I wouldn't fight my mum when she was younger, but
Nah, my mum's too lovely.
Yeah, I like my mum too much.
I'm thinking about it.
Think about fighting your mum.
And how would that change your upbringing, though? Would that make you a different person because she was a different person? Time travel.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
On that note,
Science
though,
experiment.
dear nerds, like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Have a
fuck you, Isaac Newton.
Fuck you, Isaac Newton.
Fuck a dork.
Fuck you, Roman emperors. Don't kill my family. Something.
Fuck
inspiring.
You, unnamed Secret Service agent.
I'm sure he has a name, but we'll never know. There's no way to find out. There's no way to know.